It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Hey, good morning. I hope you guys could hear that because I couldn't. Good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News. I had no volume there. I assume I've got volume now. If there's no volume, somebody stick something up. Okay, welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry News on this Friday. It's going to be a busy show today. We've got a special guest this morning. Nate's going to be with us from Alaska Travel Desk. And we're going to actually deep dive into, and do an in-depth study of the MSC Grandiosa, which is going to be a little different than we've done before, but it's going to be an interesting show. Of course, today's show is on the 7th day of March, 2025. Is brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by chilliescruises. So in addition to the MSC Grandiosa Report, we also have a couple stories to get to. 7 cats on a world cruise. Jetline holiday ceases operation. Carnival glories cruise to nowhere. Quadruple Medevac and lots more here at 11 o'clock this morning on Friday Travel and Cruise Industry News Podcast. Today, folks, is National Tartar Sauce Day. I debated whether I'd even use that or not because, tartar sauce is one of those 50-50 propositions. Some people like tartar sauce on their fish. Some people like cocktail sauce. That's ketchup with horseradish, that mixture. Sometimes it's got a few other things in it, but that's the basic. I like both. I actually prefer cocktail sauce, but, I'll use some tartar sauce too. But anyway, today's National Tartar Sauce Day. If nothing else, go stick your finger in a jar and lick it. That'll work. This day in history in 1778, that was a few days ago, Captain James Cook saw the Oregon coast for the first time. I thought that one was interesting. If you're listening via the podcast, you can always access the podcast via my blog, which is excessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and Bob's the Fat Guy. We do this at least Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then sometimes on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sundays. It doesn't, something happens, it happens. I'm not going anywhere this weekend, so we'll be here monitoring things. And if we, get some news stories, I'll pop up with a live. Either do a live show or pop up lives or something. But I'll keep you informed if anything happens this weekend. Now, Hot Air Tom this morning, he wanted to know if anybody is watching Drew Barrymore on Hollywood Squares. Hot Air Tom, I haven't watched Hollywood Squares since Paul Lynde was on it. And that might have been a couple of weeks ago. My favorite story about Paul Lynde on Hollywood Squares, they ask him on one show, what enables a beaver to stand erect? And you could just see the evilness of Paul Lynde's humor going to work. And his answer was, a taxidermist. So that's my only Paul Lynde story. Okay, so I'll be here this weekend. We'll keep up with things this weekend. We've got a pretty substantial interview with Nate here this morning. We'll get started after a real quick break from one of our sponsors, and then we'll get on with Nate. The Iberostar Hotel is open in Miami Beach now with 2 locations to serve you, Iberostar Waves and Iberostar Berkeley. Welcome to the hotel in the famous Art Deco district of South Beach with Mediterranean architecture, a unique facade, and arches surrounding the distinctive interior courtyard. Very close to the best leisure facilities for couples and families looking to enjoy the city and its beaches, and next to the Miami Convention Center. For information and rates, give me a call, 434-258-9264, for the Iberostar in Miami Beach. That's a nice new hotel in the Art Deco district. Actually, there's 2 of them. I believe the Wave is the one that's just opened, and the Berkeley has been open for a short while, but both of them are fairly modern, fairly new. They're in the heart of Miami Beach. Just give me a call. All right, so I talked last night extensively with Nate. He didn't want to emphasize the fact that he's been in Brazil and sailed the Grandiosa in Brazil. He mentions it several times during the interview, though. But he's in Panama, and it's rather hot and stinky and sweaty. But he's taking some time off in Panama right now, so it's good to talk to him. So with no further ado, here's our special guest. Got a special guest. Of course, you guys all know the guest. It's Nate Vallier. And this is a special program about the Grandiosa. So with no further ado, here's Nate Vallier.
Hey,
and we're going to talk about MSC Grandiosa.
Yes, we are.
All right. So that's what we're going to talk about today, Nate.
Yeah, she's a Meraviglia Plus ship, presently down here in South America doing coastal cruises in Brazil. And believe it or not, our capacity on board was 6,200 people. And wow. I don't know how MSC does it, but you could really only feel it if you went to the buffet. The ship has 3 gangways for entry and exit, which I think is amazing. Elevator weights were really good. And so I wanted to talk about her because she will be doing sailings in and out of Orlando, Port Canaveral, starting in December. And so she's replacing, I know Seascape is going to Galveston. So I think that's maybe what she's replacing out of one of the Seas, out of there. But she's a big ship. She's got everything, and she's not Meraviglia. So if you guys have been on Meraviglia, you will be impressed. And I'm even really impressed with her after coming off Seascape. And so I wanted to share a bunch of pictures I had on my journey with everyone. And hopefully, I know we're not live, but I can always come back and answer questions later.
Well, obviously, one of the most important things to me is the lounges.
Oh, yeah. So on this ship, they're a little bit more spread out. It's not like Divina Magnifica where everything is very centralized. There's a handful of bars. I don't remember seeing an actual nightclub. So this is one of the midship top lounges. And they try to make this adults only for everyone. So this is where like Galaxy 32 is on Divina. And some of the other ships will have, some restaurants or something up here. But here, it was mainly just an adults-only bar, and they had some food out during the day, plenty of seats. And what I liked about it is it wrapped all the way around up top. So it was a 270-degree, view of the ship and everything. And it was always fairly quiet. So here we are in port, and this is MSCO. And as you can see, there's hardly anyone in here. But what I like about it is there's just a lot of really good places to come in and sit and be able to talk to people. And the bar was open pretty frequently. At night, they have a pianist with wait staff and everything. So this is just one of the, I think the ship had like 17 bars. on board, but this is just one of them I got a picture of. This is the other one we spent a lot of time at. Now this is where MSC kind of copies Norwegian's Oceans with a British pub. So this is Masters at Sea. And so we spent a lot of time in here. This is part of the promenade on decks 6 and 7 and kind of towards the front. And so in here, the bar was open every day at 5:30. They had, I want to say, 20 some different beers on draft. They had live entertainment every night, which was really good. We had bar service, out or table service out along the promenade if you needed it. And so Masters was a pretty good quality bar. They were able to make us pretty much any drink you wanted, including Long Island's and Adios Mother Effers.
Nice.
If any of your sailors do, if they've been to Tortola or Belize, they know what an AMF is. And it was very well staffed. Now they did have a surcharge on food, and the food was actually pretty good. This is not a shared kitchen, which is interesting. So at Masters of the Sea, they had fish and chips, which I think was cod or halibut. They have a pretty big hamburger that also is fairly good. They had French fries and a charcuterie type plate. But it was just a cool place to go in and sit down. They're typically open until about 2 a.m. And Masters was it's kind of, again, I not to say that they're copying Norwegian's Oceans, but it really felt like that, except for the whole restaurant vibe, but the whole British pub, and it was actually very nice. We enjoyed it. All right, now in the buffet, this is something I've never seen before. And as much as I cruise and Chillie chime in, but as you walk in the buffet, if you come in the main entrance, you can only go in one side of the buffet. If you want to go to the other side, you have to use a completely separate entrance. So they had the buffet walled off, and I've never seen that on a ship. I don't know if it's part of crowd control, but basically what we're seeing here is a retractable wall separating basically identical parts of the buffet. And I've just never seen them use it before. So I don't know if it's just because of capacity, but literally you come in the main entrance to the buffet, and this is where you were. To get to the other side, you had to come in through a side entrance or come in through the back. And this is kind of what the buffet looks like. This ship was put in dry dock in 2019, so it's fairly modern. It was for as many people as we had outside of the clientele. And I'm not trying to be disparaging against Brazilians, but the lines were long, but they moved. This buffet was not like most MSC buffets where you literally have to walk around the whole buffet to find stuff. They did have a good deal of repetition. So I want to say there were 4 zones, I guess, on this, where you had your forward zone on each side, and then you had the aft, which pretty much had the same thing. I know we had pizza on the front side, which is what we're looking at. Pizza on the other side was all the way in the back by the Horizons bar, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So
now I'm curious, did you get up for breakfast at all at the buffet?
I didn't even try.
Yeah, well, I know.
I walked through. No.
You're not an early morning person to start with.
Definitely not, especially when these bars are open until 2 a.m. These Brazilians, Chillie, we had parties going at midnight, starting at midnight.
Wow.
Multiple parties. I mean, like 3 or 4, not just one. We had anyway. So the morning buffet, at least on this one, they still had, I do remember seeing the wall up. They only had juice out in the morning in the juice machines, and they had 4 types of juices, which was nice. I know in Divina, they went between 1 and 2, depending on the water station. But no, the morning buffet wasn't too bad. And then also they had at the front or in the pool area, they also had like a mini buffet line. And so that also helped reduce a lot of the congestion. So I think this is where I was very impressed with MSC, with the fact that we had, almost 6,200 people on board. Really didn't feel it.
Well, I've gotten, which is a change in my MO on cruise ships, I've gotten any more, so I go to the main dining room for breakfast.
And they did that too, but what's funny is they had to open all 3 dining rooms for breakfast and lunch. So they would say to go to like the aft deck 5 or 6, I want to say probably deck 6 dining room, which is underneath carousel, which is where their shows are. And I did that for lunch, and they put me in the midship left left dining room and it was packed. And the food was better than I expected. I don't know if it's because we had a Brazilian menu, but it was not. Let me rephrase it. You could taste it.
Yeah, I understand.
You could taste it, and they didn't charge you for second entree. So I don't know if that's a Brazilian, different market, but you could actually order multiple entrees and not get charged.
I think it's a lot of it is MSC has improved drastically over the time when you had people bitching constantly about food.
Oh, I would not step on an MSC ship. If you talked to me 5, 6, 7 years ago, I'd say hell no.
Yeah.
And
we both have changed.
Yeah. And so I think this goes back to, let's talk about American and Canadian comforts. We like having consistency. We like knowing what we're getting on board. We like the same service. And that's why people let's talk about Norwegian, Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, Carnival, is you know what to expect. And I'm really trying to save a lot of my comments for a discussion on Brazilian cruises in specific, but this is different than any MSC ship I've been on. And I was actually really impressed. We still have multiple jams on the buffet. You have multiple items. The food was definitely geared toward Brazilians. There was no Indian food. They had a decent selection of vegetarian if you needed it. But again, that was more catered to the market. So I think what's happened is, with MSC being a privately owned cruise line and the only one in the world, the fact that they're owned by the massive MSC, the shipping company, this is kind of like an afterthought. They don't have shareholders to answer to. They don't have to deal with Wall Street and everything. So the fact that MSC, everything has been controlled by Geneva, their headquarters for so long. What I see happening is like the Fort Lauderdale office, for example, has more control over American cruises, which is why we're seeing more Americanized foods and better Americanized products on board compared to like what we saw in Brazil and other places. So like this ship was definitely very much geared towards Brazilians. We didn't have 5 languages on every announcement. It was primarily English.
All right, I'm really I'm not sure what happened, folks. So let me see why that cut off, if I can. '23, 24. Let's see where this is. All right, I'm real excited this morning. No, that's the start. I don't want to start, folks. All right, I'm real excited. $18. All right, folks, I'm not sure why this completely cut off, and I can't seem to maneuver myself up to the point where it cut off. So I'm going to have to finish this interview on the next show. I will find out what happened and why it happened, and get on with it. Yeah, I'll be back with the little bit of news we had on top of the interview after a quick break from one of our network sponsors. All right, my apologies on that, guys. Again, I'm not sure what happened. It was sailing along fine, then wham, it was just gone, and I couldn't get back to the breaking point. So I'll have to re-edit that and save the second half for the next show, whenever that might be. All right, so moving on with today's news. Nearly 6 months after leaving Belfast on its 3.5-year world cruise, Villavi Odyssey is filling a unique market niche, according to hotel manager Rodrigo Lopez. I believe Villavi grabbed a new market niche with a very well thought out business plan and a great structure, which makes the product very unique, he said in an exclusive interview recently. We currently have 249 residents of a possible 360. We hope the ship will be sold out by the summer. However, in addition to that, we have 7 pet cats, which are allowed to live on board along with their owners. That's one of the plans that Villavi developed. While there are standards and policies for dogs sailing on board cruise ships, there are no such regulations for cats, Lopez explained. We created these policies, got approval from relevant authorities, and now the cats are living fine on board, he continued. That's awesome. 7 cats on a world cruise. In what appears to be the potential collapse of a popular UK vacation planning site, thousands of would-be cruise passengers have found themselves without bookings on Carnival Corporation ships. The cruise giant, citing alleged breach of contract, has terminated all existing bookings made through Jetline holidays. The move affects passengers on Princess, Holland America, P&O, and Cunard, leaving many in a state of limbo. Carnival Corporation has instructed those with canceled bookings to reach out directly to Jetline Holidays for resolution. Please beware, folks, that Allianz has implemented a change to their cancellation policy effective March 28, 2024. The key changes in the policies are residents from Florida, Georgia, Kansas, Montana, South Carolina, and Indiana no longer have the option to cancel any time before departure. All states except New York are now subject to a 15-day cancellation window. Only New York residents can still cancel anytime. If you're interested in Allianz travel insurance or the brilliant annual policies from Allianz, give me a call, 434-258-9264. We'll take care of your travel insurance before your next trip. Carnival Glory had to cancel every port of call on the current 4-night Bahamas itinerary due to weather. With no ability to schedule alternative ports, the ship has ended up at sea for the entire sailing. Glory departed Port Canaveral on Monday. High winds and heavy swells in Nassau on Tuesday, and heavy swells at Tenderport Princess Key on Wednesday were the reason for the cancellations. New Caledonia Maritime Rescue Services executed 4 consecutive medical evacuations from Royal Caribbean's Quantum of the Seas within a 24-hour period, marking an atypical operational sequence for the region. The incident occurs as the vessel transited between Vanuatu and Brisbane during a 7-night South Pacific voyage, departing Brisbane on February 28th. All patients were stabilized aboard prior to transfer and transported to shore-based medical facilities. All right, here's today's cruise special from Alaska Travel Desk and Chillie's Cruises. This is the MSC Grandiosa that we've talked about this morning, sailing from Port Canaveral on December the 6th, 2025. Stops at Nassau, Ocean Key, Puerto Plata, and back to Port Canaveral. Inside cabins start at $469 per person. Solo cabins start at $664. If you'd like more information on the MSC Grandiosa cruise from Port Canaveral, call Alaska Travel Desk at 907-531-9140 or Chillie Cruises at 434-258-9264. MSC Grandiosa, sailing from Port Canaveral on December 6th. All right, that wraps up the news portion of today's show. Again, my apologies for the interview with Nate just cutting out on me. I will go back and re-edit that, and because we were only about halfway through. We had tons of pictures yet to go over from the Grandiosa. Information on the accessibility, which is far improved on any MSC ship that I've been on. There's just a whole lot more information. So that'll be up on the next show. My apologies. I'm not sure what happened or why it happened, but I'll figure that out. I'll start on that right after the show today. All right, let's go over and see who's in the chat room fussing at me. Besides Hot Air Tom this morning with his ask about Hollywood Squares. Bob's with us. Good morning, Bob. Says, thank goodness it's Friday. Kenneth's here up in Pennsylvania. There's Gary, older than dirt. Hey, Gary. Joanne's with us. Katie's with us. Sonny's with us down in Mississippi. There's Cindy. Good morning. Sonny says, used to love Hollywood Squares with Paul Lynn, Charlie Weaver, Peter Marshall, and others. Yeah, back in the day, I loved it too. Charlie Weaver, that's another one. I hadn't thought about him for a long time. Yeah. So I enjoyed it back in the days. Now I haven't watched the new version of it at all. Gretchen's with us out in Ohio. Cindy says, I've got MSC Grandiosa booked in November from Rome. Can't wait. Roger's with us from Jacksonville. Hot Air Tom says, only to be beat by match game with Bert Summers, Charles Nelson Ryle. Oh, Charles Nelson Ryle. And that's another one I haven't thought of for a while. Richard Dawson, of course, I always liked him. What good memories. Yeah, I agree. Roger says, booked to Princess Transatlantic for March 2026 with Sam. Gretchen says, what ship, Roger? Hot Air says, we'll be sailing on the Grandiosa next February. Cindy and I booked 14 days, 7 days with Chillie, and that's me, of course, and 7 days before. Cruising Koozies with us. How you doing, cruising? Sonny says, match game was funny with Gene Rayburn. Yes, it was. Sonny says, I loved watching kids' games show shenanigans with Stubby K back in the day. This will be the biggest ship we could have cruised on, and the prior ship is 1,200 passengers, so hoping it will not feel too crowded. Well, that was the surprising thing, Hot Air Tom. As Nate said, with 6,200 passengers, and the only time it felt crowded was at the buffet. So, if you're not a buffet person, which I know you're not, that shouldn't be a problem. So, Todd's with us. Says, good morning, everyone. Great interview with Nate. Yeah, it's even greater if you get to see it all, Todd. I'm flummoxed at what happened. Sonny says, great report. The blue shirt and blue hat bring out the blue in your eyes. Roger says, Sky Princess, Port Canaveral to Southampton. Sky Princess, oh, that's nice. Gretchen says, ooh, that's tempting. I should have taken Sam's brother for free, but didn't want to see his dog at the kennel. Yeah. Cindy says, great information on the ship from Nate. I ended up getting a yacht club interior in November on Grandiosa and going 4 days pre-cruise to Rome. Nice. Cruising because he says he's got to go back to work. Yeah, I'm sorry, but some people have to do it still. Not me, thank goodness. Kenneth says, Chillie, make sure you are going to do a pizza review in New York and maybe a bagel review. That would be awesome. Well, personally, they got the best bagel. I don't know. It's a toss-up to me between Pittsburgh. I love the Squirrel Hill bagels. And the bagels in New York, there's just nothing that can quite come up to them as far as I'm concerned. Pizzas in New York are different. That's a different game altogether. But yeah, maybe we can work that out. Hot Air says Kenneth, or maybe the Shake Shack burgers we love just around the corner from our hotel. I tell you what, folks, for downtown Manhattan, the Shake Shack burger is as good as you can get anywhere. I really like that. And it's not inexpensive. Obviously, you can spend a lot of money for burgers, but this is relatively inexpensive. We will be on the train this time in 3 weeks. Yep. Starting to get things put together and thinking about it, and thinking about are we going to do the parking the car thing again, Tom, where Cindy's going to hold me up for $1 zillion since we're taking the train up and then we're flying back. So, I just have to get from the airport, if I can get accessible transportation over to your house, or we could do I don't know if Cindy is comfortable driving to the airport, and do the same thing we did on the train station. I just wait for you to get back with my car. I don't care. I mean, we could work something out. So what did the doctor say? He said I didn't have to worry about planning my funeral for the next couple weeks. I said, well, that's a good thing. No, we had a very good meeting. He'll call me today with the results of the blood work and, all the tests and crap that they do on an annual checkup. It's the first time that he and I have sat down and talked about, my situation in the future, which things may be changing. It's possible. Not that I'm going to be moving anywhere. It looks like I'm definitely going to be in this house for the rest of my life. Obviously, this is not suitable as an accessible permanent residence if I get to the point of where I'm less mobile than I am now. However, when the time comes, if I'm the only one living here, that I can easily adapt it to make it accessible where, now would be a drawback to other members of the family. But we talked about a lot of that kind of planning for the future. David is not only my doctor, he's my friend. I love to play with him. It's always, we have fun and still get the medical stuff out of the way. He's been reading up on a new valve that might possibly alleviate some of my breathing issues. I've got to get a call in this afternoon to pulmonology to set up an appointment to sit down and talk about that now that it's been out a while. And is it something that might help me? Maybe not necessarily make my breathing easier, but improve my lifestyle. So that was a good thought from David on that, and one to follow up on. So Katie, all in all, it was a really good appointment. Wasn't anything bad from it, other than my hands bruised to hell from where they took blood. Of course, they've gotten now where they quit going after my arms and do it on the back of my hand, and it's bruises easy. That also is a function of the prednisone. But yeah, it was a good meeting, a good appointment. Roger says in Pittsburgh, I love Minio's Pizza on Murray Avenue. I've had pizza from Minio's, yes, indeed. Murray Avenue, that was a good area too. Roger, what do you think? You lived in Pittsburgh. I don't know, New York bagels or Pittsburgh bagels, Squirrel Hill bagels. Boy, that might be an interesting thing if I could get both and compare them. Yeah, maybe I can figure that out sometime. Otter says, I expect if we could get Chillie to approve, yeah, well, that's a good possibility. I suggest we use one of our SUVs and do the chair in the back. Can you get in and explore? I don't know. That could be difficult, but I could try. I mean, I don't know, Tom. I've not gotten in anything that big for quite a long time. So Cindy wants a ramp to the front door. I like wood. Neighbors put in a metal one. Any thoughts, anyone? The problem with metal is if it's cold, it's going to freeze and be slick. Of course, wood can be slick as well, but wood you have, I don't know, I would just, wow, that's a tough one. My car, of course, is metal. I don't have a ramp up the front. My front stoop is 2 steps. I come in through the garage and there's a wooden ramp, but that's indoor. So, wow, that's a tough one, Tom. I got to think about that one. A lot of the outdoor ones are wooden. I guess so they can be replaced if they start weathering. I don't know. That's a very good question, and one that I'd have to do some thinking about. I had some great bagels from a place near Penn Station when I went for the funds exchange back in September. They are both places, Pennsylvania, whether it's Pittsburgh or Philly, or in New York, they're just a cut above any place else in the world. My bagel place that I go to here in Lynchburg ships bagels in from New York every day. He doesn't make them here. They're shipped in from New York. So there's a reason for that. And they say it's because of the water. I don't know, because it's got so much bodies in it. I don't know why. But that it's supposedly it's the water, and the same thing in Pittsburgh. It's the Pittsburgh water. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I've never made bagels. I just know where the ones are that I like the best. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for this Friday. Again, my apologies for the interview with Nate cutting out about halfway. We'll get that fixed, and we will continue it on the next show, whenever that is, if it's sometime this weekend or if it's Monday, because there's a lot more information that we didn't get to today. So we'll start working on that here very shortly. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising, and hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a great Friday and a fabulous weekend. I'll see everybody either sometime this weekend or Monday. See you next time.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.